I grew up in Israel in one of the most ultra-Orthodox families. Growing up, we followed all the rules from the Old Testament, plus a whole bunch of them that the rabbis would make, move, change. So I grew up with a lot of confusion, a lot of religion, a lot of laws. We were also always told, if you don't do this, God is going to kill you. So my picture of God is that one day he was just going to come, take my head off, and we were going to be done. Growing up, I went through a lot of abuse in my family, which kind of led me to eating disorder, to self-harm, to suicide, to just try to do anything to cope and stay alive. Growing up, we had no TV, no internet, no contact with the outside world, basically. We grew up and went to school, and the school, it was just for girls, just for women, and we learned how to sew, how to cook, how to clean, how to pray, because they basically believe that the only reason women are alive is to have kids. One day when I was 17 years old, I came home and all of my friends were there. They were preparing for a party. I asked them what was going on, and they said, "You were getting engaged tonight." I said, "No, I'm not." And they said, "You gotta get ready, you're getting engaged." Getting ready for my wedding, I tried to do everything to get out of it. Did not want to get married, tried to run away from my wedding. But the only thing in my head that was thinking, if I get married, maybe I will not be abused anymore. Ended up the night of the wedding, my arm was broken, and it was welcome to my marriage. After some months of just trying to survive, I really got to a point where I was just hopeless. I said, I'm just gonna stay here until I die, and that's it. One morning I woke up, which today I know it's really God, and basically told my ex that we were done and I was gonna give him money and he was gonna go home. That night, my father basically came to me and said, "You cannot stay in Israel anymore." Because of his position, everything I did, all the other girls did. Basically took me to the airport, said, "Follow those people. I don't know you," and that's it. Plane landed and I was in New York airport. I was there, did not speak the language, did not know anybody, anything, and was just there sitting and crying. This guy showed up and spoke to me in Yiddish, and he said, "I'm your uncle, let's go." Went to his house, went through a whole bunch of more abuse, just really hard time. And I decided that was it. I just want to take my life and I'm done. I got a knife, I started cutting myself, I was bleeding, but I just wouldn't die. And that's when I was like, I'm in New York, there's a lot of tall buildings, I would just go find a building and jump and be done. And as I was walking in the street, I started talking to God. And I said, "God, I don't know if you're here. I don't know if you hear me. I don't know if you see me. But if you do, I need you to come and take my life because this is not funny and I'm done." And as I continued walking in the street, I saw a church. And growing up, I was always told if you go into a church, you would die. I said, perfect, I want to die. This is a perfect shortcut. So I walk into the lobby and nothing happened. And I was like, I guess I got to go to the next room to die. So I walk into the sanctuary, and the minute I walk in there, I fell on my knees face down. God started speaking to me and said, "Rachel, you have been waiting for the Messiah your whole life. I sent my son to die for you. Will you accept him?" And I was just crying, and he said, "Your family is going to try to kill you for that. Will you still accept him?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "It's going to be harder than you think. Will you still accept him?" And that's when I said yes. And it was the first time in my life where I heard about Jesus and I saw him bleeding and bruised, but he had the biggest smile on his face. And I said, "Jesus, why are you smiling?" And he said, "I'm smiling because I know the life that I came to give you, or anyone who will say yes. Will you say yes?" And that's when I looked at Jesus and I said, "Jesus, even if this needs to happen to me, even if I need to be crucified because I say yes, I say yes." My whole life, I waited for the Messiah. So me as a Jewish innocent girl, I finally found the Messiah. So I run back to my uncle's house, jumping and dancing, screaming, "Guys, we don't need to suffer anymore. Messiah is here, he's alive, we are free." And my uncle basically just grabs me and bangs me to the wall and says, "Either you forget about your family or you forget about this craziness, because this is not okay." And I just looked at him and I said, "Jesus is all that you need and Jesus is all that I need. So even if I need to forget about my family for the rest of my life, I'm okay. "Get out of my house," threw me out in the street. I was the happiest person. One of the things that Jesus actually told me at the church is that he called me to do greater things than what he did. So I asked him what he did because I didn't know. I'm walking in the street, I'm just saved for a few hours, and I see this guy in a wheelchair, and I was like, uh-oh, that's not okay. So I just woke up and just, put my hand on his feet, and I was like, "In the name of Jesus, walk." The guy gets up, starts jumping and dancing. He's all excited that he can walk, and I have no idea what he was talking about. I speak Yiddish, he speaks English, but that's when I realized that the most important language in this world is love. I couldn't communicate, he couldn't communicate, but I knew it was the love of God that wanted to touch him. If I can say anything to anyone, it would be focus on intimacy with Jesus, because when you have intimacy with Jesus, you will have everything.